Outrage over tax cuts for the rich. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because, well, we've had another budget announcement, and thank you to everyone who joined me for the live stream of it last night. I'm sure it was exciting. But of course, with a budget announcement, we have to get the good old tax cuts for the rich, Aussies outraged, completely ludicrous and stupid articles from the media. I'm getting just sick and tired of these type of things. So, once again, I'm going to explain the progressive taxation system here in Australia and how it works. Okay? Come on. If there's someone you see today, someone you see when you're out working or you're out at the shops that says, oh, it's tax cuts for the rich, set them straight. Because that stupidity is just being fueled by the media. I'm getting sick and tired of this. A few idiots on Twitter is all it takes now to write an article. And notice this one's written by staff writers, so we don't even know who is to blame for this type of stuff. It's to fuel this animosity and jealousy. I think jealousy, the tall poppy syndrome, tearing down people, I think that's one of the biggest problems we have in our culture, particularly here in Australia. What do you think? So here's our taxation. This is from an article discussing the tax cuts that we're going to get. The same bloody thing. Tax, the rich people on $200,000 are getting over $2,500 in tax, while someone who only earns $1,000 is only getting only earns $40,000 is only getting a $1,000 tax cut. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. You earn 200 grand, you're paying 67,000. You earn 40,000, you're paying 5,000. Okay, it's going down. Sure, you get a bigger saving, but you're paying a lot more. Do people not really understand that? Now, journalism. Do you need to do maths to get into journalism at university? You need to do maths, probably just Maths A, or maybe the Maths for Living one. You know, the one where they teach you how to fill out those dole checks, the Centrelink forms, in that mathematics. I'm so sick and tired of this type of rubbish coming through again and again and again. We've got enough issues to not fuel this jealousy here in the country. And this is what the leftists, they use. They use this to gain political power, to create divide. It's all jealousy, everyone. It comes down to jealousy. If you want to get a bigger tax return, tax cut, earn more money. Okay? Honestly, you'll be working bloody hard for 200 grand. It's not all, flowers and roses and easy times. Even the people who are the master day traders who apparently make that much, they'd have to work bloody hard. There's a lot of stress involved. So come on. So let's have a look at this article, because this one's... I need a shot of coffee. This has gotten me annoyed. Because let's wait till you see what the Australians that they're talking about. The federal budget 2021. Australians angry over tax cuts for the rich. Tax cuts for the rich. Many Australians. See, this is bullshit. A few Twitter losers, okay? Twitter losers are unhappy with the budget. And don't get me wrong, the budget is... I'm not surprised at it by all, and all these people are shocked at the amount of debt. I mean, we knew how much debt they were going to have. We knew that they weren't going to stop intervening in the market, guys. They're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. What gets me angry is this is fake news. This is literally propaganda designed to cause divide in Australians' community between, those that are maybe doing a bit better than others. It creates divide, it creates animosity, then it creates a sense of entitlement. And that's the biggest issue we have here. So, many Australians have responded with fury over a budget they saw as providing tax cuts for the rich and a lack of support to those struggling to get by. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg will forge ahead with tax cuts due to deliver huge reductions for higher income earners in 2024. Yes, because they pay enough tax already. If we didn't have this mess of how much... Can you see why people want to negative gear their houses? When they're thinking, okay, I'm paying 70 grand tax, I'm paying 40 grand tax, I'm paying $30,000 a year in tax. If I can buy a property, negative gear it to put a dent in that, I'm going to do it. No wonder that's what people do. And then we get all this money flowing into housing. Maybe if we look at praising our politicians that actually look at reducing taxation, and then double praising those that look at reducing the size of government. I mean, that would be fantastic. Could that even be considered or discussed nowadays in Australia? I don't know if it can. The federal government has tried to keep the focus on the one-year extension of the low and middle income tax offset, which is worth $1,080 for singles and $2,160 for couples earning under $126,000. But budget papers confirmed the Stage 1 tax break could be axed next year, leaving those workers facing a higher tax bill. Meanwhile, the Stage 3 tax cuts will remain in place for 2024. We'll introduce a single flat tax rate for every dollar earned between $45,000 and $200,000, benefiting Australia's highest earners. And benefiting those people on $45,000, everyone. That's not a bad thing. It's a simplification of our tax system. We really need to simplify it. People who are advocating for a transaction tax, this is at least a step on the way to simplifying it. It's so complicated and convoluted. Just think of all the resources that are wasted on working the system with the ATO. I mean, there's no mention in this article of the reduction in taxes for brewers, or the fact that they're setting up an organization to step between the ATO and small business to manage that process. Because the problem is, ATO is the second biggest organization that's bankrupting businesses in Australia. ATO doesn't create jobs. Low-income Australians get a once-off handout, said campaigner D. Midgan on Twitter. Yeah, there you go, Twitter. A campaigner on Twitter. Rich people get an offset, an ongoing tax cut. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. Okay? Life isn't fair. If you want to get more, if you want to get that bigger tax cut, you got to earn more money. They're paying more. They're paying over 60 grand compared to someone paying 4, maybe 5. Do they not get this? Do these people not get it? They can't be that dumb. Can they be that stupid? Is it really like that? Many said the extra budget funding for domestic violence and aged care support and the job seeker payments was not enough. It's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough for leftists that put the hand out. They're jealous. They're greedy. They always want the handout. This is the problem. This is why we need to scale back the government. So there's no one to put the hand out to. If you put the hand out to, you go to a charity. Then you have to do what the charity says, like in the old days. The Morrison government plans to spend an extra $680 on domestic violence programs and $17.7 billion on aged care. The problem with the DV programs is they seem to be gendered. That's a sad thing, nothing for men. Oh, but no. We were talking about that in the stream last night. There was stuff for men. That's called the defense budget increase. Australians struggling to find work will see an increase to the base rate of the working age payments by $50 per fortnight, along with an increase in their obligations and intensive activity required for 6 months of unemployment. But some commentators say the extra job seeker funding still wasn't enough to ensure out-of-work Australians can eat, pay rent, and afford to attend and address for job interviews. Sally McManus, okay. A unionist that's just been in the union her whole career. She ever created a business? She ever knows have any concept what it's like to actually employ people, to deal with all the red tape and BS that you're pushing on this country? Do you know why people offshore work? Can they not see it? Maybe it's just a lack of perspective. Maybe that is what it intentionally is. They just don't have the lived experience to appreciate the implications of what they're pushing on. I've seen it. I've seen it when I'm out and about talking to people, and they're like someone who's worked a civil servant job their whole life, and they think they've got it tough. Oh no, I didn't get this perk. Oh no, I didn't get this 5 promotions. Oh, I'm sitting on 150 grand a year, and I didn't have to work any overtime. I saw this when I was working in there for a period as a graduate, and I was shocked. It was very different to the private sector. So living standards were going backwards. Call for an election now, Scott Morrison. Your budget is just for the rich again and doesn't really benefit women. What? Insane. All the money for childcare. All the DV money. All the training places they have for women only. And Indigenous. Did she even listen to the budget? Probably not. Probably not. Just copy-pasting what they've been told by their handlers. Homeless, the environment, housing quarantine, and you never mention that you still intend to put all Social Security recipients on the cashless card. Well, I don't think that's actually happening. And I've got issues with that, with forcing people to do it. But here's the question. If a community, at a community level, decides that they want to put that in place, are they allowed to do that? At what level? my concern is that government intervention, it's so far removed from us now that most people don't realize it. If it's 100 people and your community has a drinking problem and you decide to push that in, and if people don't want it, they can leave. What do you think about that? Pensioners got nothing. Homeless got nothing. Public housing, nothing. Job seeker, nothing. Job seeker got more money. Renewables already getting enough. We don't need to worry about the environment. I mean, pensioners can't always get more stuff, guys. Come on. You want none of these things create jobs. Okay? You want private business to create jobs. You want the government to get out of the way. University of Adelaide economics lecturer Stephen Hale said the government had chosen not to raise the job seeker payments permanently to non-poverty levels and not to end involuntary underemployment. Okay, here's the thing. Here is the issue. What do you think job seeker is? What is it? Is it a UBI? Are you meant to be able to live comfortably on it? Or is it an emergency payment for people that don't have the capacity to care for themselves when they've lost their job? To keep them from being destitute, to keep them from resorting to crime, to keep them from resorting to starvation. Which one is it? I would argue it's more an emergency. It shouldn't be considered a permanent part of someone's life. It should be a temporary thing that's simply in place because they haven't prepared for tough times. And as a society, I'm sure most people can appreciate that that's the point, that is something worthwhile doing. But the problem is, if you keep creeping that emergency up, it's going to get to the point where it's more comfortable to not go through all the jumping through the hoops and doing a crappy job that you're not good, you're too good for, than not. I don't know. I'm just frustrated with it all. Others were concerned over the 747 funding for defence. Well, of course it was going to happen. 58.6 million for gas projects, alongside the lack of support for the environment and cuts to universities. Well, no intervention we're going to do with regards to... I mean, here's the thing. The environment's fine. Look how clean the environment is now in Australia. We don't have smog. We don't have any issues. We don't have significant pollution issues. It's managed. There's a lot of regulation. If anything, there's probably a bit too much regulation that's putting a burden on our economy. This is why when people advocate for bringing manufacturing back to Australia, I'm so skeptical of it, because the not in my backyard crowd and the green tape that will just be imposed on some of these projects. I mean, could you imagine becoming an environmental scientist thinking you're going to save the planet, and all you do is writing reports for big mining corporations, or removing some dirt from a fire station because of some chemicals in the ground? That might lead to an existential crisis. Anyway, nothing for universities. They don't need it. Tax cuts for the rich. Not really. 45 grand ain't rich. Nothing for the environment. Minuscule increase the job keeper. You'll never be happy. Funding for new gas and coal projects. Yes, gas and coal is cheaper than importing panels and wind turbines from overseas. And we've got a lot of coal. Let's just use it. We're not going to make any difference to, if Australia became completely carbon neutral, to offset all the coal we exported, it will make no difference to the planet. Just look at the amount of sulfur dioxide in the atmosphere from China and compare it to Australia. Okay? Stop kidding yourself. It's just propaganda, bullshit designed to get you to feel guilty so you pay more for stuff. That's what it is. At least the Liberals aren't falling for the carbon tax as much as others. How about spending big on vaccinations in Australia? We already are. Open the borders. That would be good. Rather than giving more tax. Those aren't mutually exclusive things. An art history lecturer. Robert, those are not mutually exclusive things. You can't say, oh, we've got tax cuts, now we don't have open borders. I agree with you. Let's look at opening the borders, getting the economy moving. But that's not mutually exclusive to tax cuts. I mean, this is the thing. They're just jumping against it. I mean, their university. Their sector's been completely destroyed. They're all shitty because the international students aren't coming anymore. They've probably invested all their money in student accommodation, thinking that we're brilliant. And now they're feeling the pinch. Tough times hit everyone. Maybe it's the university sector's turn to go through it, because there's been a lot of waste at university. If you haven't been in university and seen it, you'd be shocked. Okay, you would be utterly shocked how much bureaucratic bullshit is in unis. Alison Burns from the National Tertiary Education Union accused the government of a higher education sector burning, oh come on, with immeasurable expertise lost from what should be the engine room for jobs, skills and innovation. Have you ever looked at some of the research grants that get put out here in Australia? Look, just take some time to look at them. I was going to do a video on it a while ago. I really should, because there's some really stupid things. Okay, maybe our universities are the engine room for jobs, skills and innovation. We'll see. We'll see, but a lot of them aren't. Lawyer Sophie Trivett said she hoped to see funding allocated to justice reinvestment, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander legal services, and community-controlled programs. People just they all want their own little handouts. They've got specific funding for Indigenous training places. That's the one thing. If you want to help Aboriginal Australians or Indigenous Australians, you want to get them work. You want to get them jobs. That's what you want. Maybe that's too masculine a way of approaching this thing. There's value in work. Work is one of the most important things, well, particularly for a man. I guess we're hardwired for that. We should be. Sorry. Instead, we get a punishingly low job seeker rate. Will drive people into poverty and prisons. Barely any additional funding for family. What? What? There's tons of funding. They've added billions of dollars for it. Do people read the budget? They just write this crap before, don't they? Also, another reminder that the government doesn't care about most Australians, said one man of the cuts to the NDIS Quality and Safety Commission. They're adding additional support to NDIS. Guys, it's a gravy train. It's and budget increases for DV services, aged care, etc. are significantly less than what they should be. See, this is the bullshit. They're never happy. These bloody jealous lefties who want all this shit from the government are never going to be happy, no matter what you give them. That's why we need to reduce the size of government and teach people to have that they've got agency and they've got to step up and work for their own stuff. If you're running these charities and handouts, why don't you do something of value in another business to keep it going, and then you can put all your money that you earn in that into your charity. What's this? Oh, come on, climate change. This is not an issue that we're going to have to deal with. I'll happily bet a carton. I've heard it all before for the last 20 years. I was indoctrinated with this fear of climate change at university. We had a subject, because we're architects, we get it really hard, the greenwashing. We had a subject where they were really imposing socialist ideals on us and greenwashing and all the fear. And I started, as a young architect, you think, okay, that's cool, we got to save the environment, this. So I started digging, I started looking. And that's where I started finding things like these skeptical environmentalists, and started looking at what the basis of all of these claims that are being pushed forward as gospel were, and found that a lot of them were rubbish. So university is good in a way, but then, because I did really well on that subject, I got like a HD and I was brought back to tutor. And then I remember discussing this with the students about a year later, and they were just blindly following what the lecturer was saying. And I said, well, do you believe that? And I go, but that's what the lecturer says. But have you challenged them? Have you checked to make sure what they're saying is correct? This is one lecturer that wanted to build this... The whole concept, and this is the stupidest thing in the world, was to build like a zoo, and then have all the biomass of the zoo in the building inside the walls. So you'd have like a little green plants growing in the walls, and that would offset the carbon of the whole bloody building. It was fanciful. That's the stuff that gets funding. The New South Wales Nature Conservation Council said nature and climate were big losers in a budget that was supposed to have something for everyone. Yeah, they did. Well, no, nature isn't a big loser. There's talk about funding for dams and water security. That's fantastic. We need water for nature. Wealthy Australians... Oh, this jealousy. Wealthier Australians may also benefit in other ways from the budget beyond the upcoming tax cut. Any business with an income of less than $5 billion can write off the full value of an eligible asset until the 30th of June 2033, and a tax break expected to reduce tax revenue by $17.9 billion. Yes, that is a good thing. You losers who've never run a business don't understand how hard it is to pay for shit, you need to buy equipment, you need to buy stuff to start a business, then you got to write it off over a bloody decade. Okay, that's good. That's a good policy. Let these small businesses write stuff off. That will keep the velocity of the currency going. It'll be good for the economy. That's what you want. You don't want taxes. Okay, taxes, bad. Bad. Taxes, bad. Less taxes, good. You want money in the hands of individuals because we don't piss it up against the wall on stupid programs because you'll spend it smartly if it's your own money. Families earning more than $189,000 will also have the $10,560 annual subsidy cap for childcare removed, under changes set to come into effect on July 2022. And well-off 60-year-olds looking to downsize could benefit, as they'll be able to put up to $300,000 earned from selling their property towards their super. I mean, that's good. Then you might get more boomers selling out. And they should tie the childcare subsidy to family tax benefit. Tied to the same rate. So, what do you think, everyone? I'm a little frustrated with this whole tax cuts for the rich by staff writers, Twitter advocates, and people just pushing for their own special interest groups. I'm so sick and tired of it. Anyway, what's the solution to this? Jealousy is the path to becoming a useful idiot. Everyone, that's what it is. If you're jealous about someone who's doing better than you, if it eats at you on the inside, you've got to work on that. Because that's the path to being a useful idiot, manipulated by the media, manipulated by those in power for their personal gains. What do you reckon? Anyway, thank you all for watching this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using SelfWealth or Stake. If you sign up for SelfWealth, we each get 5 free share trades. You can use our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or HeiseBroadband. Buy a merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.